Hey there, everyone. While this market volatility continues and we find some of our favorite stocks off of the recent highs that they've experienced, the question is how low will they go and what sort of opportunities wait for us following those lows, because I really am interested. We could find ourselves back into the game, seeing tons and tons of green for each of the four stocks that I have in here. So BigBear.ai Stock, so BBAI Stock, and then Soundhound Stock, which is SOUN for the ticker. And then I also have NVTS Stock. Can't say the company name, but I'll try during this video. And then Lucid Stock as well. I'm going to put all of those in this video. By the way, this Saturday, we just have 2 days left until our next workshop for options for the complete beginner, all the way up to being ready to buy your first call option, put option. So if you heard about options, you want to know what they're all about, you guys can check it out. And just so you know, there also is 2 other workshops that take place. So if you want to know technicals, more like what you see in this video, there's a technical workshop on the 24th, which is Sunday, and then also a crypto workshop on the 24th. And so now at these times where we fall off of those highs, those workshops, especially technicals, okay, well, how do I produce these things? The options, how do I take advantage, such as, well, even though we don't cover selling put options in this workshop, we will cover it in the next workshop that comes up after that. Most likely there's a session 2 being cooked up, where we have the selling of call options, the selling of put options, where you can learn to get even lower cost bases for some of your favorite plays as they come falling down, where you start to look for those times when you're going to get those low prices in there, getting you some better deals along the way. So the workshops coming up this weekend, very excited about them. Last one, smashing success. Can't wait to see you over there. Make sure that you use code word SAVE. There is limited seating available. So let me put that down and bring up for you TradingView, and we'll talk about BigBear.ai stock. We'll kick things off with here. So tumbling off of its recent highs that it had, the earnings not so good, experiencing some of that concentration risk that comes with having a heavy reliance for their revenue on the U.S. Army. And the U.S. Army is like, we're going through some efficiencies right now. We're not going to take as much of your services as you thought that we would. And so big old rip downward, down to just south of $5 per share, and then recovering very sharply on this, peaking up above 6 and then settling to close that day at just under $6, $5.97. And then you can see it's kind of moved minorly since then, getting rejected off the 50. We're down below the 50. We have that 5 also, or the 13 coming down this way, about to cross over the 50. That can be a further bearish sign for us in the near term, push us back down. So we have about $4.50 is where we find that some of these previous pivots, so historic support, and then we also have the 200 EMA at 449 for support, and then down below that at 434, which if you look back to history, we can actually be on this thing. If we are going to pull back this far on BigBear.ai, mid 3s to mid 4s could be a massive load up zone if we're going to find that momentum coming back into it, where that news seems to coincide with the technicals, that we find ourselves back down in that accumulation area, that accumulation zone where you have more buying happen, more rampantly buying, and then all of a sudden the news hits a boom to the moon with it. And that could happen really anytime throughout Q4, maybe Q1 is when we get that news happening. And we want to watch for that news to happen, because if they do get some relatively large contracts, especially things that show broadening, that it takes away some of that concentration risk, this thing's going to move very wildly from its at, probably do another 100% plus, especially if we're down near that 350 to 450 range. We could even see it go 200 to 300% on move, depending on what sort of news that we get for them. Right now, it's sort of a down and out sentiment for BigBear.ai, with people holding on for dear life. So the hodl definitely going on here, and then we had people absolutely buy the dip the day after the earnings came out. So we'll see if we make that slow, steady fall on this, or if it's one that we happen to just kind of take off from where we're at right now, because we do happen to sit somewhat in a support zone right now. But I do think if we find ourselves 350 to 450, massive opportunities wait for us down there, especially as the news comes out. We can still find opportunity from where we're at right now, 50 to 100%, but it starts to turn more into multiples the lower we go. Now, Soundhound is one that I said that we could pop $16, and then what we did, we actually popped $17. Now we sold back off to about $12.80. We are already in the support zone on this, which goes all the way from these peaks that we have here around the mid 13s, all the way until we find ourselves down to the low 11s, if you will. If this thing pulls back under that $10 mark, I think that's really where we're going to start to see some of that accumulation build up again for Soundhound. So we absolutely want to be watchful for that. So if we put up some Fibonacci retracements on this, we actually came down to, from the most recent run, the 61.8. Now we're trading back above it. That could be a very good thing for showing some near-term strength, and we have some doubling up, if you will. That would take us back to these previous pivots that we have over here, where we might find some resistance along with these moving averages. So I think it's going to be hard pressed to move up above mid-13s near term, unless of course the market really picks up on strength. Let's say on Friday when Jerome Powell comes out and maybe he says things from the Jackson Hole Symposium that the market absolutely loves, that they don't really still see recession right now, but they do see some signs of weakness that they want to allay, that inflation's not really entrenched or it's not really resurging. So really good news about inflation, really good news about recession. Those things that could lead, especially if it's paired up with easy monetary policy, those are all things that could turn out really well for us on Friday, 10 a.m. Be watchful for that, because that could really pull forward some of what I'm talking about. But if we can't break that mid-13s, we'll call it resistance that's up here, well, then we're probably going to push down below the 50, down to where we have the $11 price tag, even down here to where we have this more of an accumulation zone. Like I said, it takes us from about $9 up until about $11. If we find ourselves back down in that area, I think that's where a lot more of the opportunity comes in for Soundhound, another momentum stock that we have. So this is Navitas Semiconductor Corporation. I was going to say Novartis, but that's a different company entirely. That's why I said NVTS stock. So for this one, looking a little bit head and shouldery, although that left shoulder is kind of wild. It's like two heads and one shoulder on this thing. We could push down below the neckline on this. That happens to be, goes all the way down to, we'll say about mid-5s on this. We could push down further. Where do we find that accumulation potentially happening? Well, from about mid-3s all the way up to about 5. So $3.50 up to about $5. If we find ourselves back there for NVTS, we could find ourselves with some wild upward pressure, some wild buying coming in. We want to watch those volumes, which are continuing to taper right now. We are down below the 50, down below the 20, almost getting a bearish crossover there, the 20 over the 50. Putting up the EMAs for a moment, the 5 is about to cross the 50. If it does, that's a bearish sign. That's called a bearish crossover when you have the faster moving averages crossing down over your slower moving averages. The 13 over the 50 is an even further bearish sign that we would see. One of the early signs was that 5 over the 13, that we weren't able to, we did fall down through off of earnings, caught the 50 for support when we tried to push back up above. We could not ride up above it, and then on a Friday the 15th, we lost the 13, lost the 5, and then we continued to confirm that more recent movement. The RSI also down below 50. So NVTS, so showing further signs that it could settle from where it's at right now. Now, mind you, Friday 10 a.m. could come along and either validate all of what I'm saying about a further drop before finding a place to accumulate, or Friday could come along and just wipe out that whole accumulation thing and just absolutely blast off, skyrocket. So we want to be prepared for either one. The market itself is preparing for that eventuality. You can watch my video from yesterday, which is going to talk about that more. So the final one that I have for you here is Lucid, which finds itself after popping up to the almost mid-3s on this thing, like a 336-ish after that news with its partnership with Uber, is finding itself back down in this place where every time we're down here, we put on at least 50%. So last time that we were down here around $2, we popped this thing up to $3.50, $3.60. Then we find ourselves back down around $2. We popped up to about $3. Then we find ourselves back down to around $2. We find ourselves back up above $3. We're back in that area for Lucid. It's starting to get interesting. And I don't do a lot with leaps options, for example, but Lucid is one, especially given the current price that it's at right now. There's that low capital risk, high volatility situation that, I don't know, sometimes those options, even if it's not a leaps option, just taking some of the longer dated options on something like this with those calls, that some news comes along sometime and actually prints out pretty profitably. The last time was 450% for me. We'll see. And now, mind you, that timing was absolutely excellent with that Uber news that was out there. One of the Discord members capitalizing 7x on their position from that call option. So pretty darn incredible. I think that we could be getting back down near that area for Lucid. So across these stocks here, if we are going to continue to tumble, especially let's say just through the month of September, for example, maybe a little bit of October, if that's the case and they end up finding a place where things are looking pretty beat up and down, that could be that place where you start to see that accumulation come in. And if it's a place that a stock has a deep enough options market, BigBear.ai does, SoundHound Stock does, NVTS does, Lucid actually does pretty well with its options too. Each one of those There's the idea of selling put options. There's the idea of buying call options. Either one can be a very bullish thing, and they both take their own amount of capital in their own ways. It has to be a cash secured put, or for the options, you're putting that cash out there, or for the call options, you're putting that cash out there yourself in order to go long, and time is against you in that case. Whereas for the selling, you get money handed to you right away with some risks that go along with it. That's better served for a workshop than what we have here for YouTube. But it is some ideas that I'm kicking around for the stocks that I am watching. Guys, come on over and join that workshop. Remember, the seating is limited for August the 23rd, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Use code word SAVE when you sign up for it. If you take the bundle, code word SAVE still gives you that big fat discount. It's even bigger because the price is a little bit higher for the bundle. So on a dollar basis, it's a bigger discount. So it'd be about a 3x discount dollar-wise over what you would get for just the options workshop. So whatever you sign up for, go for it. There's a community that goes along with it where for 60 days you're in that community where not only can you ask questions during that workshop, but you can also ask questions following that workshop. And then I'll put out more posts and information that follow as well, sort of as a follow-up to what we talk about and also to expand on the things that we talk about. And then there are other workshops coming where we'll talk about more advanced options usage, such as the selling of calls, the selling of puts, and then the advanced option strategies where you start to put multiple calls together, multiple puts together, or you mix and match the calls and puts as well to really put yourself into advantageous situations for whatever your situation happens to be. So I'm pretty excited about all of those. Guys, if you don't meet us over in the workshop, or even if you do, you can also meet us over in the Discord, code word doctor for the Discord. So it's SAVE, S-A-V-E, for the workshop, Dr. D-O-C-T-O-R, if you're going to take me up on the offer for the Discord, where I post my technicals, my buys and sells, the different news that I find relevant. And I'm just one of the panel experts that's over there. There's a whole team of us there to support you in your journey towards financial freedom and building alpha in your portfolio. So you can check each of those out using the links down in the description. There's even some coursework for options and technical analysis and technical trading. That link there. If you're going to do the courses, code word doctor is going to work for you as well, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of these 4 stocks. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and I will see you in the next video.